Doom Patrol Season 4, Episode 5. It's the Youth Patrol, folks, because we are reaching that point in a show like this where it's been going on long enough, we're going to hit some tropes. Now, what's a common trope you see in both cartoons and a lot of other stories that go on forever that have some science fiction to them? Big deal in comic books. That's right, people get younger. We're doing a de-aging thing, which I get it. That works for the Doom Patrol. Their entire conception is this group of people that have found a way to live forever. Making them younger, going the de-aging route, makes sense. It also just strikes this chord of we're reaching the end of the story, if that kind of makes sense. Like, this is the halfway point of the season, and I'm not surprised if this is the final season, as sad as that is to say. I get it. It feels like we're hitting the beats we need to for this to end. It's about living forever. Well, maybe these people can't live forever anymore, and that's kind of what we're playing with and what we're getting at in this story. Wouldn't be surprised if that's how it ends. Their immortality's gone. Now their life has consequence and meaning, and they'll find out how to be happy. Not surprised if that's where this goes. Just saying. But this episode opens out with some interesting stuff. It's another Willoughby episode. And we're just trying to see people deal with their issues and what they mean to be human and, you know, all the stuff you've seen a million times before. Rita's still in her coma, but Larry has to go and find Keeg. He's off on his own journey this episode, which I think makes sense. He's going to go do his own thing. He's going to go figure out a little bit more life stories, and that also leads me to think, like, this is, like, the end stuff. I guess we could get to the Larry things first. He goes off into the wilderness, and he kind of coincidentally stumbles into this cabin where we meet Dr. 104 or Mr. 104, who is Rutherfordium. I don't think that's his name. I can't remember Raja, is that his name? Something to that effect. These two are starting to share memories of each other. They were both part of, like, the Bureau of Normalcy captured them and studied them. Keeg is showing them their similar life and how they kind of, like, play off each other, and given them, like, that connection. They both have power that, if used wrong, could kill the people around them. Of course, we see that through Larry accidentally getting his bandages taken off, and people start to die around him because of just the way the energy's coming off his skin. And Mr. 104 with some weird... Is it metal? Is it metal that does that? Again, I'm thinking the Metal Men every time I see this guy. I know that's not where it's going, but you just can't help think Metal Men when he shows up. He can also turn his body into different elements, so he turns to lead to kind of help Larry out of the situation. And they just kind of connect on that level. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is what Keeg's journey was. Keeg is trying to get Larry a boyfriend. Is that what we're doing here? Of course it's not. Unless it is. Unless that's exactly what we're doing. It's like, hey, I need two dads to parent me. Maybe that's where it's going. Because Keeg can manifest inside both of them and is fine with it. Like, there's no real issue with Keeg being in either of them. Sure, Mr. 104 doesn't like it, but he's managing well enough where it doesn't feel like awkward that the kid is inside of him. Which makes it's kind of cool. I like that. Larry's a fun character. When they send him off to do his own thing, I get it. I still feel like he's going to go to space and do something there in this season. I don't know, maybe that's where his journey ends. But it's just kind of fun to see that. You don't have anything to do with Larry in the main story. You can do this over here. He's got to learn to be a father to this kid and understand, like, this guy maybe is doing the wrong type of things to kind of, like, help out there. And we learn all of, like, the Dr. Janice and Immortus stuff, and that's also kind of like the plan that gets Larry involved there, and Larry gets kidnapped because, okay, let's get into that. It's kind of a little sillily complicated, and I'm okay with that. Again, I know what this is. Doom Patrol isn't going to give me, like, the award-winning nonsense of whatever. If there's a necklace that if you get all the shards of the necklace together, because parts of the necklace are imbued in all of the people Miles has worked with, Rita, Larry, Cliff, and Jane, you get all the pieces, you put them back in the necklace, Immortus will rise, the end of the world is coming. We got Rita's already. That's what the weird nostalgia trip was. Now we just got Larry's because he had this connection with Dr. 104. It's sucked into a portal. Cool. So it's just Cliff and Jane we have to kind of, like, deal with now and keep together. During that time, like I said, Willoughby shows up, steers them in the right direction. That's for a fun story. Rita also wakes up and sees that she's aging. And her first reaction is, oh, Niles probably has something to counteract that. So she goes to the basement and she just opens up random jars, finds some stuff that could age her, puts a curse on everybody, and they become teenagers. Great. Like, that's easy enough. A simple story that works for everything Doom Patrol has been building up. We have to go find Miss April, who can help get Willoughby the right skills he needs for this. The joke is, and there's a lot of sexual jokes in this episode, the joke is he needs to have sex because magic people get stronger when they lose their virginity, and he reverted back to when his V-card was still intact. You're like, that is funny. That works for this entire episode because guess what the other theme is? The other side plot of this story is Jane is horny, and when we meet Jane in this episode, we're watching Diane Guerrera have a little fun on camera, and you're like, okay, that's what we're doing this time around? Let's have fun with it. And she's getting so into it, she gets sucked back down into the underground, gets off the train, and she's like, what is wrong with you people? Like, what's wrong with what we're doing? She's just giving them like a huge speech like, hey, it's fine. Nothing happened. We're all good. They're like, what are you talking about? Why are you down here? What were you doing with your pants down? She just climbs back up and gets back to it. I'm like, yeah, that is fun. Because we, I guess, haven't explored that. Jane has been a fairly asexual character, so I guess exploring that is something you should do. And now that she's a teenager, those feelings are going to be more prevalent. And it kind of leads into, look how deranged and upset all these people are because they're young. Jane is like, I've never been a teenager before. I don't know what to do. I want to have some fun. Cliff is like, the most formative years of your life are as a teenager. I was a piece of shit. Let's get trashed. Vic's a nerd, which I'm like, that's great. I also really like that just like when Cliff gets younger, he's still just like a robot, but he's in a cowboy hat looking like, I guess, an 80s teenager as a cowboy, and that's kind of fun. When they get even younger, he's just wearing like children's clothes, but he's still like the big robot, so that's fun. Vic's the nerd. Willoughby is like from the 17th century, dressed like the Renaissance era, and he's got long flowing hair, which they make like a huge deal about, which is very fun. Rita looks like your typical nerd from the 20s. It's very cute and funny. And of course we just see, because Madame Rouge can do whatever she wants, her body looks the same. And then we get some separate stories from there. They go to a party for teenagers, have some fun, have a few laughs. Vic lets loose a little bit. Jane learns a little bit about herself. Willoughby's like, well, I don't care anymore. The world's going to end. Let's just have some fun. None of this matters until they get very young, which is a really cool thing to see. Again, it's kind of like a Jane episode where she learns to kind of like let loose. And there's this like entire moment where it's Kay and Jane talking about like sharing the body, and I'm like, that is fair. We've explored that a little bit, but not in this capacity where you see Kay like, you're allowed to have fun. I'm allowing you to be happy, which again leads to why I think this is wrapping up the story. Kay is accepting like Jane has to be her own woman. She likes the fog, that's fine. We'll do that. Larry meets a guy that could be a kissy friend because their powers can counteract each other. They're going to raise their weird space baby son thing. That works. Rita and Madame Rouge get their relationship strained and then connected. They kind of be like, it's hard losing your friend, and then coming together in the end as young children. Very cool. The storylines are wrapping up. Halfway through this season, it's bound to happen, and that's where we're going. That's where this is headed. It makes sense. I have no issues with that at all. It was bound to happen. And then Willoughby gets summoned by some weird old school Templar Knight rabbit carrying worshipping magic people. And they convert him back to a proper grown man, and he does, but it looks like they're going to be taking something from Jane to potentially summon Immortus. Going against the grain completely. So it's a fun filler episode. I say filler loosely, just because it doesn't need to happen. We could advance this plot, but it gives Larry and Jane something to do. We get to have some more fun with like different designs for Robot Man. Willoughby gets to explain to us what's happening. Now we got Larry's, we got Rita's, we potentially have Jane's. Something big's going to happen to Cliff in the next couple of episodes, and then we'll be all hunky-dory. It's great. Everyone's just smoking pot, having a good time, playing young teenager versions of themselves. Joven Wade strips down and jumps in some water. That dude is ripped. It's good shit. Look at this. A horny episode of television with superheroes. What more do you want? Like, this just sold its premise perfectly. You've seen it done a million times, but that doesn't matter. It still has to happen. It still did happen. They were young. They're still young. Will they get older? Maybe. Or as Cliff put it, maybe they'll get jizzified. Either way. Great to see Doom Patrol doing this still. 4 seasons is impressive for any show. For this show in particular, so specific in its humor, it's kind of impressive. I'd hope for a season 5, but let's be realistic. So that's going to do it for this review of Doom Patrol. A great episode. Check it out. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Hive, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.